Welcome back. Right, we have another interview today. I'm sitting with Chrissy Ingram, who's the executive director of the National Association of Women in Construction, an organization that has become near and dear to my heart. I've been working with them for just about the last 3 years. It has been a pleasure, and in the spirit of bringing some interesting conversations about what's happening for women in the industry. Chrissy has happily, gratefully agreed to sit for a little bit of a conversation to talk about things from the advocacy side and what that all looks like. So welcome, Chrissy. I'm going to start with, can you talk a little bit about NAWIC in general and the big picture in terms of what the mission of the organization is?
Absolutely. So NAWIC started here in Fort Worth, Texas, where I was born and raised in 1953. 16 women in construction doing different things, got together kind of like a social club. Like, hey, we're having to deal with these things, with these guys all the time. Let's get together and we have this group. And the word got out that they were meeting over tea or coffee or lunches, and the word got out, got bigger and bigger. People were hearing about these ladies that get together from different states. Sounds amazing to me. In 1953, 1954, women jumping in the car and going to another town or another state to get these women together on these road trips. And then in 1955, it had caught on so widespread that we were chartered as National Association. It was the Women in Construction of Fort Worth, and then moved in 1955 in September to the National Women Association of Women in Construction. So NAWIC is all about being there for each other. It is a wonderful community. It's kind of a family. And it's grown over the years from the clubbish feel, or the let's just get together feel, to a more professional, growth oriented educational experience where women can network with each other. That's a huge part of what we do. Is we have women across the country that you can email, send a message to, Zoom with, meet at different conferences to really just talk about the goods, the bads, all of the things, and learn from each other, and just really be that support group for each other. I really feel like that's why we have a retired membership category, because you retire out of the construction industry, but you're still very much involved with your NAWIC family and your community. So being able to build each other up and really advocate for each other, present opportunities for each other, it's really the place where you can be in your tribe.
Yeah, and I have to imagine that if we went back about 70 years, as much as things have changed, some of them are still probably the same for women who are working in the industry.
Yes. And I have heard so many different stories from the newer to the industry ladies, as opposed to the retired ladies who, some of them will say, you just keep your head down, get through your day. And then the others like, oh no, you go in there and cause a commotion. And I think it's definitely depends on the person, but a lot of it is just finding that advocacy and that person to help be your voice. And that's kind of still the way it was then.
Yeah, well, and as we know, we are still talking about a 90-10 industry, and even a much smaller percentage when you start to think about the number of women who are working in the field doing actual construction, right? Field work,
Yes.
project managers, superintendents, four people, and the like. So, but as the executive director, you come at it from an advocacy perspective, but how did you end up? I know you're at NAWIC now for about 12-ish years.
Yes.
So for the folks who are listening, you and I have had, they may not know, but you and I have had plenty of conversations over the last couple of years. How did you get to NAWIC? what do you like about the organization? And then we can talk about some goals for the organization as well.
Okay. Whenever I heard about NAWIC, and I had, I was always in the for-profit world and in banking and things. And then I was blessed to be able to stay home for a full year whenever I had my daughter. And then I heard about NAWIC, and I thought that is really cool. That is really something that sounds like they're doing things in this world, right? And so I checked it out. I was able to get involved, and my very first conference that I attended, it was in Denver, Colorado, and I was there with 600 women who were doing, I had architects, attorneys, welders, iron workers, masons, and I'm listening and I'm meeting all these women and I'm listening to all these women and the projects they're working on. And I was completely hooked. Like I just watching them interact with each other and with such diverse jobs, diverse backgrounds. It was absolutely amazing. I was totally hooked. But then you think about your job, my job every day is helping with a mission that is helping women. It's helping the world. It's helping construction. It's helping every single woman. These young ladies who are coming up in, middle school, high school, and they're like thinking what they want to do. And I've got a 13-year-old daughter, and she's getting to learn about engineers and architects and, all the different things that she could do besides, being a teacher, or there's so many different things out there. So I think just being a part of all the different women coming together and really pulling each other up, that hooked me into NAWIC, and being able to work in an association that you truly believe in their mission of enhancing these women and really getting them out there. It's, I'll never want to leave.
Well, hopefully you can make a full career out of working for NAWIC. And
Yeah.
it's interesting the way you describe it, because you're really not focused strictly on the women who are working in the industry, right? You're thinking about both we'll think about the upstream, the younger generation that's coming. How do we encourage, keep young girls who, and I don't know where the break point is, but keeping young girls involved in STEM fields, whether that is engineering, whether, right, it doesn't, in my mind, it almost doesn't matter, right? There seems to be like this off ramp, whether it's like middle school or where, girls are told, you don't want to go into math, you don't want to go into engineering, right? Construction is almost not even in many high schools, construction is not even talked about, for
Right.
boys or for girls. But you're sort of talking about the upstream piece. How do we make sure we've got a pipeline of people coming into the industry, as well as honoring the folks who are coming out of the industry and retiring and leveraging their life experience and what they've dealt with. So you're not, in the way you describe it, you're not dealing with just the people who are working in the industry. You've got the full continuum that you're sort of being mindful of.
Yes, thank you. We try to do things as much as possible with the schools so that you're getting in with that faculty, that staff, and you're getting in with the parents of the children so that, they, if your dad was a doctor and you're a doctor and you're going to tell your kids they need to be doctors, right? But some of them have no idea that there are such a wide array of really great opportunities in construction, that it's not just hard and dirty, that there's so many different things that you can do and very lucratively. So
Yeah,
just trying to that outlook on construction all the way around.
yeah, and I think in some cases we've got an image problem, right? From construction.
That
uh
perception is
yeah,
definitely
that right, the construction is just about, hard hats and work boots, as opposed to attorneys who are working in construction, accountants, human resource professionals, marketing professionals, project managers, superintendents, right? It's not just about necessarily being in the field, estimating, pre-construction, right? There's a whole range of careers that we're just not really very good at at letting people know what some of them are. Um,
Right.
so from an organization perspective, when you think about it, I know you're sort of mid-year, right? Your fiscal year is coming to an end right around
September 30th, yeah.
September, right? So halfway through your year. Um, Maybe can you talk about some of what your big goals were for the year, maybe some of the smaller goals, and what the sort of big picture is for where NAWIC is going, let's say 3 to 5 years from
Okay. Awareness is key. That's one of the big things that is on our national strategic plan is awareness. And that is, all across the country. That's why we have WIC Week in March, where we can really get the communities involved and get that awareness out there. Um, we really want to work on, and we were talking with members, we're talking with non-members about what do you need? What needs are there? How can we really enhance you? How can we really enhance careers? How can we really enhance this whole industry? And so I know a lot of what we're doing as a whole is that education piece, getting those certification programs out there, getting our scholarship foundation out there so that we can get and we're growing that every year. So if we can get those skilled workers in, those, get school is expensive, right? Even just the book. So if we can get that help out there to get these people, to get everyone trained, educated, certified, and get them in the industry, that's really our goal.
and in your conversations, because I know you probably have lots of conversations with your members. What do you hear from your members? Like what are the hot button issues that maybe were not the case 5 years ago, and hopefully might not be the case 5 years from now? So what are those issues that they're struggling with, that they need support around?
A lot of it is that skilled workforce, because you can ask 9 out of 10 women who are running offices or running jobs, and they will tell you we don't have enough people. We need workers. We need skilled workers. So that is a huge one. And the other is just, I think mentorship has really changed a lot for the industry, because we didn't have that before. You just kind of kept yourself and you were quiet, and now they're learning from each other, bringing each other up. And I think the more we can grow mentorship programs and get women those pathways to learn and advocate for each other, to, hey, you know what, I know this, you're looking for a leader, I know a leader,
Mm-hmm.
and really advocating for each other and mentoring each other, learning off of each other, because you can learn both ways. The mentor and the mentee, they're learning from each other, if it's the right fit and that right relationship. So that's two things, just knowing that other people are there and knowing that you can talk to them, ask them questions, and really learn from each other. That's huge.
Yeah. And for the members of your organization, how do they start to think about, right? Because I think the mentoring piece is important. But the perhaps maybe the limitation of that is you still only have 10% of the workforce in construction who are women.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are somebody who, even if you work for a large construction company, you may not have a whole lot of folks who are in your network, or in your workplace, who are you may not have a whole lot of women in your workforce to begin with, and so that's
Yeah.
the first price. And the second is maybe they're not necessarily willing to be a mentor, right? That's the other, right. We would hope that
Yeah.
they would. Um, so how does NAWIC and the members start to think about the idea of sponsorship and allyship in sort of as maybe two legs of the three-legged stool of mentorship, sponsorship, and allyship?
Yes. And I think that really understanding that we are a women's association, but we do very much rely on our male allies. We're actually looking at in the near future, we're trying to create a male allyship training kind of program where not only our men taught how to handle women, but women how to talk with men, because it can go both ways, especially in the trades where they're out on a site, and safety is a huge issue when you're not comfortable talking with each other. So just learning how to navigate that from both sides, I think is huge. Being able to really talk about our male allies, and there are some really great, I see employers, spouses that are really taking that step and being that voice. How we can get more, that is something that we're definitely working on. And so we're thinking that allyship training, and if we do more of the educational webinars and things like that, to really get everyone understanding we are a women's association, but we welcome you. We want you as males to be a part of this, because we definitely couldn't do it without you. I think that is really going to be a game changer if we can get more people less scared to talk to each other.
Well, in 2024, right, we probably need a whole lot more of just people having some conversation, right, and it not having to be. We seem to be very polarized these days, right? This is not. I don't think I'm breaking any news by by saying that. That happens in our industry. That's happening in every industry. That is happening just in society, sort of writ large. We got a lot of conflict going on, and I think that there has to be this opportunity to bring people together, to find that common ground, and within our industry, to do that as well, right? When I started working 35 years ago, I worked for a company that we had female engineers, and I don't think we spoke any differently. They were very competent and qualified, and some of them were way smarter than I was, and because I was the worst kind of an engineer. I didn't like the engineering part, but they did, which was great. Um, so when you start to think about what NAWIC does and what your mission is, what's been the sort of maybe the more effective services or initiatives that you've rolled out, that really they're moving the needle for your members? Not necessarily building the pipeline. I know it's important, but right, your members, your paying members, what are those services that they're finding most beneficial?
I think a lot of it is the ability to get together. So on a local level, getting together minimally every single month and they can meet. They'll meet at a restaurant, or they'll meet at an office building, and have speakers and job site tours, and really getting to have those conversations on a local level. Also on a regional and national level, whenever they can attend conferences, and it's men and women are definitely both invited to all these conferences, and being able to really talk face to face, and seeing each other, and seeing there are a lot of women in the room. Hey, there are a lot of men who support us in this room. I think that is a big plus for our members, is really just having that one-on-one time. The fact that we have Zoom and Teams and all that, where we can get together across the country now, definitely helps with that. But having the conversations, being able to get together, have the conversations, and see where everybody's at, I think that's a big part.
Yeah, and having been at, I think I've been at three of your annual conferences at this point. The first one was, I think we were probably still right in Charlotte. It was still COVID. I remember people
Yeah.
still walking around in masks, but it was uh, but right, to be in that kind of a space with 450, 500 women in the industry who are all kind of dealing with some of the same issues. The conversations I have there are just phenomenal, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you, after a number of years, you see the same people over and over again. You're right. It is that reconnection of and sort of strengthening those professional and personal bonds, which is great.
I can tell you, I like learn a lot, and I love to see on people's faces when they hear something totally new that they hadn't thought of before in the industry, like oh, women aren't treated like they're smart enough, or they're not taken seriously enough. But that's not what I'm hearing. I hear stuff like, we need to work on the porta potty situation on job sites and things like that. I'm like, I never even thought about that. I'm like, I didn't either. Like, this is all, I'm learning, and everyone's learning. And I think when you find out those things that oh wow, I didn't think about that, and it really gives you a different respect for all of it, and really makes you understand the need for everyone coming together and having the conversations and learning from each other.
Yeah, listen, porta potties is, I'm not making light of porta potties, right? It's
Right.
if you're a woman in the trades or a superintendent, or right, it's a significant issue. I'm not minimizing it, but I remember being at the annual conference. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where you had companies that were rolling out apparel, right? Work boots that were designed for women,
Yes.
right? Work clothes that were designed for women, safety vests that were designed for women, right? And it was, you don't think about it, right? I didn't think about
Right.
it, but right, when it's put in front of you, you go, oh, right, that is obviously, if you want to have women who are working in an industry, they need to be able to buy the supplies and clothing and safety gear and everything else that actually is fitting, right? It fits
Yeah.
them properly, right? You're talking about safety, right? You know, so
Right. Gloves. Like, you don't
yeah,
think
right,
about gloves fitting women's hands, things like
right.
that.
It's just, and it's not just like, oh, so we'll give, whoever it is, we'll give them an extra small, right? It's like, nah, it
Right.
doesn't, right? If so, but you're starting to see that building up of the support infrastructure for women to be in the industry, which I think is probably a newer sort of incarnation. So when you start to think about NAWIC, and you'll tell me how the membership, 7,000 ish,
6,000. We're right at 6,000 right now
right?
across the country.
6,000. What do you think is right? Because we've got a million or so women who work in some capacity.
Right.
Is it just getting the word out about NAWIC? Because NAWIC's been around for a long time.
Right.
So what do we collectively, have to do to make the case for NAWIC? Is it just awareness? Is it building more value? Because I think that the value of an organization like NAWIC is, right, you're a member organization, right? The more you can bring together, the stronger, the more you can advocate, the more change you can bring. What do you see, right, from a professional side of things, um, has been some of the challenges you've got in terms of attracting more members?
One definitely is the awareness. Two is time. It's time. It's these women, they're working all day, and then they've got families. And so that's why childcare is something that we're looking at right now too, trying to help with childcare in the industry, because they're trying to work all day, and they're still trying to be that wife and mom and do all of those things as well. So I think just time is huge for getting more members, getting more and that's why we want to enhance every woman that's in construction. No, they don't have to be a member. Like, we want to enhance it for everyone. But we definitely love the membership, and there are some definitely perks for them. But I think that's one of the biggest things is time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and that's probably a case for most people, right?
Yeah.
It is there's only so many hours in the day, and if you've got kids, you got a family, you got right. It's I can understand that. I will speak at it from a man who works in the industry. What's sort of the message you would give men in terms of how they can better support women in the industry? So you're here, I'm sure you hear from your members, right? They are still probably hearing things on job sites that are just like, they make you shake your head. You go, real, we're not in 1950 anymore.
Right.
What is it that you hear from your members about how men can be more supportive of them with just generally in the industry?
Listening, being open to the conversations and really listening and paying attention, not being afraid to advocate for them or speak up for them, or just really listen to what they have to say and the ideas that they bring to the table.
You mean men don't listen? My wife my wife might agree with that a little bit, but I think, and it's an interesting element that you're describing, because I think that there is, I don't want to call it a superpower, but women tend to have, we'll call it, more highly attuned communication skills, um, whether that is in terms of listening, however you want to describe it. And we're sort of a rough industry. We get a lot of folks who are men who are in the industry, came out of high school, worked on a job site, like, they're, and that is not necessarily just relegated to what happens on a job site, right? Um, so it's an interesting element that you bring up about, the communication skills, the ability to listen, to hear what they're saying, right? Not just to hear, but to listen,
Yeah.
and to react in a way which is appropriate and helpful, right? So that's a little bit of that allyship perspective of recognizing that there are some very talented women, very talented women who could go into construction. They probably get sidelined and go in other directions, for lots of reasons. But we probably could use a little bit more professionalization, so to speak, of the industry.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you probably see and hear that as well within
Yeah.
your role.
Absolutely. And being married to a carpenter, that, and that's what he did, as soon as he got out of house school. So for 30 years, he's done carpentry and construction work. And so I sometimes have to remind him, you're not talking to the guys on the job site, you're talking to your daughter, you're talking to your wife, or are you hearing? And so I see it firsthand, as well as hearing it out there, that just the ability to listen, that empathy, not so much you have to fix everything for her, but listen and try to understand.
Oh, fixing things, right? So you have a daughter, I have a daughter. I can't tell you how many, and I'm a coach too, right? So I remember at one point, my daughter was probably in college already, and she was, talking to me and my wife about something, and I said, "Can I offer you a perspective?" And she looked at me and said, "No." Because there's a part of it where as a dad, like, we just want to fix things, right? As
Absolutely.
husbands, we just want to fix things. And my wife and my daughter occasionally, probably still every so often, have to remind me, like, I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to listen. Right. Right. And as men, right, we're not sort of naturally programmed to ask, what is it that you need? Right?
Yeah.
Do you need me to listen? Do you need to offer a suggestion? Do you need me to make a phone call for you? Do you need me to just sit here and let you vent?
Yeah.
Right? We're not.
It can't be easy, because
Well,
sometimes we do want you to fix it.
sometimes, but it's that upfront piece of, like, we're not pre-programmed, or it doesn't come to us naturally, a lot of men naturally, to say, I hear what you say, what do you need? Right.
Mhm.
And I think I've gotten better. I think I'm hopefully a little bit more evolved than I was when I first started working 35 years ago.
Love it.
Was not, my relationship with NAWIC has probably also had a lot of impact on the way I see the world and the way I see the industry. So it has been great. And I've got lots of colleagues now across the country who, um, I have conversations with, and only because of my affiliation with NAWIC, which is just phenomenal.
I love that. And so I invite people to come and have those conversations because I can see you networking at conferences and talking with the ladies and asking them questions and hearing about their experiences and their needs. And I mean, I invite everyone to do that because you can gain so much perspective from that.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. So, in the last couple of minutes, I know we are in a period in our country now where it seems like we are just exploding with work. I am sure you hear that from your members, from the companies they work for the companies who are their suppliers, their vendors, right? Whoever else. What's the from a big picture perspective? What is NAWIC? What's the outlook for NAWIC in terms of the construction industry, sort of as a whole?
I think growing that confidence. Don't be afraid to get out there and do it. There are so many opportunities, and there is so much work in so many different areas of the industry. Building that confidence and that knowledge to just jump out there and do it. Don't be scared. Go out there with confidence and your head held high and take that chance and see what kind of career is best for you in this wonderful industry.
Yeah, and hopefully find some folks along the way
Yes.
who are going to be some allies for you. Some of your what I like to refer as your raving fans, right?
Yes.
Find some raving fans for the work you do and the way you do your work. So I just want to put a quick plug in because I know we talked about conferences and annual conference is coming up in August
August 14th through the
14th,
17th.
17th. Houston, Texas this year, because there's no place better to be in the middle of the summer than Houston, Texas. Oh, well, it could be Orlando, it could be Las Vegas, right? It seems like the summer conferences always end up being in places where you go, really?
You think, we're in a lovely hotel with great air conditioning, though.
I am sure, right? I have to, right? The last 2 years we got spoiled. Last year was Portland. The year before that was Minneapolis. So it's
Yeah.
so I guess we were due for another hot weather city.
Yeah.
So I will put the plug in for the annual conference if you can make
Thank
it.
you.
Check out your local NAWIC chapter wherever you live. There is probably a chapter. I know I'm in North Carolina. We've got a Triangle chapter that I see their stuff on social media all the time. Right. So whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, um, find the folks, find the women who are doing the hard work to make your work at on the job site or in your company just a little bit easier. So
Absolutely.
so thank you for your time. I know this is taking a little bit of time out of your Friday. It's Friday, right? So
It's
hopefully
Friday.
it's a little bit more relaxed. So thank you again. I look forward to some follow-up conversations. I know you and I will be seeing each other in August, face to face at least, in person, which will be a pleasure. And to see your staff again will be a pleasure. So thank you for your time. And I think that there will be a lot of folks out there, a lot of women out there who will be interested to hear what you've got to say. So again,
Wonderful.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Michael.
You got it.